Her Excellency, with the growing Pakistani people settling in Canada, and you are becoming our second home.
Yeah.
How many Pakistanis have settled in Canada so far?
Official figures are around 500,000, but informally, probably it's a lot more than that. It's a very dynamic community. And in fact, in the last fall, the over 40 national cricket team came to Pakistan from Canada to play in a cricket tournament in Karachi. And they were all Pakistani Canadians, Sri Lankan Canadians, and they all were from around Toronto. It's a big, but they're all over Canada, but the biggest communities are near Toronto.
Are Pakistanis doing well there? Are they professionals? In which professions they are working mostly?
I think you'll find there's no sector in Canada that doesn't have Pakistani Canadians. There are parliamentarians, there are business people, there are teachers. In Canada, we don't know where somebody's from. We're a country of immigrants, and everywhere we go, it's a very diverse place. And so I must meet Pakistani Canadians and not know they're Pakistani Canadians. They're just in every part of life. So I wouldn't distinguish that particular group. They're just like any other Canadian. They do everything there is to do in Canada. So
how many students, Pakistani students, are studying in Canada?
A lot of Pakistani students go from here and they study in all, and I think we had 16 Canadian educational institutions here in Lahore, in Karachi, and in Islamabad promoting Canadian colleges and universities. And there were lineups at every booth.
University of Toronto is very famous here in Pakistan.
Yeah, lots of Pakistanis are going to study in Canada for sure. Some settle in Canada. They decide to stay there because I guess they fall in love, or they decide they like the life, or I don't know.
Many Pakistanis complain that Canadian visa process is very slow. Are you thinking of doing something to accelerate that process?
Well, I must say I'm very aware of the complaints. We have a lot of capacity challenges because we've had other challenges like everybody else. There was COVID that caused a delay at the front end. And then there was the war in Ukraine that really put a very serious impact on our ability to deliver visas all over the world because the focus was the refugees coming out of Ukraine. And then there was the Afghan refugee crisis, which took another bunch of our capacity. So we're aware of the delays, but if you look at the IRCC website, you'll see that the delays have been reduced radically from what they were even a year ago. So I can tell you that it's something we're taking very seriously and working on really diligently. So it is an issue and we're very aware of it, but for us, it's important to bring talented Pakistani to Canada. So we want it to work.
Another complaint is visa denial. And many people who are very prosperous, they are industrialists. Some are refused visas even then.
And do you know what? I'll give you a trick. A lot of people who are refused their visa, it's because they used a service provider to fill in the form and there's a mistake in the form. And the government of Canada refuses automatically if the form isn't properly filled out. And what I often find is when somebody is denied a visa and we look into it, it's because they made a mistake on the form and they didn't fill it out properly. So the lesson there is no matter how rich you are, fill in your own form. It's very straightforward online. Go and fill it out. And be careful with your application form.
We know that doctors, truck drivers, and many technicians are in demand. Do Canada need nurses or some other professionals as well?
If you go on the IRCC, the website, you'll see exactly which specializations are in demand in Canada, and it varies by year. It's not the same all the time. So it'll be very clearly identified. So yes, nurses are always in demand, doctors are in demand, but there's a certification challenge. So if you come as a professional like a doctor, you have to have your credentials recognized. So let's say you are Pakistani, you go study at U of T in Toronto, you become a doctor, you come back to Pakistan, you practice, but then you want to emigrate to Canada, then you'd have no trouble practicing medicine. But if you didn't study in Canada, it takes some time to get your qualifications recognized in Canada. But there is a demand for medical professionals and all kinds of specializations, and that's all clearly enunciated on the IRCC website.
Now coming to some lighter questions. Do you like spicy food?
Okay, here's the thing. I love spicy food, but a lot of Pakistanis don't think that foreigners can stand their spices. So I've been at dinner parties where my Pakistani host will say, oh, you can't have that. And I'll say, oh, why not? And they'll say, oh, it's way too spicy for you. And I'm just like, oh. And then it makes me want to have more spice just to show them that I can eat it. But I like food very spicy. So I've
heard that you can cook Japanese food. Have you ever tried to cook Pakistani food as well?
We did. I asked the residence chef if he would do a cooking course for some of the Canadian diplomats. And so we all took a course and learned how to make, I don't know, I can't remember what we made, but we had all the beautiful spices on the counter. We took some beautiful photos, but I have Pakistani food every day for lunch. And people tell me on Twitter what I should try. And so the chef makes everything we get for advice, we make it. And then I tweet about it. So,
have you ever tried Pakistani music as well? Any singer you liked?
I can't name a singer. I know I like it, but I'm not that knowledgeable about it. But I'll direct you to the EU ambassador's video from last year on Pakistan's National Day. There were musicians from all over Pakistan, and it was just gorgeous. Traditional instruments and traditional music. And I hear it everywhere I go. It's different depending on the region we're in. So it's lovely. Yes.
Her Excellency, Ambassador of Canada, for 8th March, ये बताएं कि आज का दिन कैसा गुजरा, आपको एम्बेसडर बनना और एम्बेसडर की हैसियत से काम करना कैसा लगा?
मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा, एक तालिबे इल्म के मौक़िफ़ से मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा कि मैं उन जगह जा सकी जहाँ मुझे नहीं लगता था कि एज ए स्टूडेंट मुझे एक्सेस होता या मेरा जो है वहाँ पे जाना कभी भी होता। तो ये मेरे लिए बहुत डिलाइटफुल एक्सपीरियंस था एंड आई एम वेरी थैंकफुल टू द कैनेडियन एम्बेसी फॉर टेकिंग एन इनिशिएटिव लाइक दिस एंड एम्पावरिंग वुमेन लाइक अ स्टूडेंट लाइक मी। आई एम डिलाइटेड।
आज आप लेडी क्वीन भी थी, आज आप बॉस भी थी, हाई कमिश्नर ऑफ कनाडा भी थी। ये दिन गुजारने के बाद अब आपकी क्या ख्वाहिश है?
इसके बाद मैं यही ख्वाहिश है कि मैं भी डिप्लोमेट या एम्बेसडर बनूं परमानेंट इस बार।